Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to a new episode of One Mic where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about the penultimate episode of the Amazon Prime original series Invincible, entitled We Need to Talk. And yes, we do need to talk. We all need to have a talk with Nolan because I'm ready to find out what's going on with this guy. I'm really surprised that we are not going to find out why Nolan did what he did in episode 1 until the finale. That's surprising to me. I figured we would. We haven't gotten any clues, like nothing. Like I'm still completely at ground zero with why Nolan did what he did. There's a really good scene in this episode where he talks with Debbie about it. I believe it's actually the opening. Debbie's fully on to him at this point, and she's like, why? Why'd you do this? And he says something to the effect of like, I had no choice, which I find that to be interesting. And then I think there was something else he said that tied it, that made me think it's something to do with where he's from. But being a Viltrumite, I can't recall what that line was, but there was something that made me think it had something to do with him being a Viltrumite. But I mean, we still don't know, and he refused to answer. He did not give any answers, and I did find that frustrating in this episode to be this close to finding out why he did what he did in episode 1, and just essentially have it go, "No, I'm not telling you." I'm like, okay, well, that's a little underwhelming, but the scene and the conversation was good. But this episode, I feel like this episode left a lot to be desired. This show has been firing on all cylinders. It's been great. This one, I feel like, had some stuff that I didn't particularly care for. I liked getting the information on why Robot has been doing what he's doing behind the scenes, because the path for that has been interesting along the way. I think we see him break the Maulers out in maybe like the end of episode 2, and then I think we don't even see anything with that storyline, I think, for an episode. And then we get a scene here, a scene there, and things are slowly being brought to light. We see him take Rexplode's blood. We see him drop it off to the Maulers. So things are piecing together very slowly, but we're getting information incrementally. That's what I would have liked to have seen out of Nolan's storyline, as far as like why he did what he did. I would have liked to have gotten information incrementally, as opposed to just what we got incrementally was Debbie piecing it together. So we also find out that Cecil seems to to be essentially planning to have Mark take him on. Like, okay, well, wow, okay. But that's an interesting plan. I wonder how that's going to play out. But I didn't like the fact that, now that we finally see, I think, the extent of Robot's plan, at least to some degree, to find out that all it was to like, so he could get with Monster Girl. Like, that's it. Like that trouble. Like, okay, I'm gonna break these two out of prison. I'm manipulating. Apparently, so he's somebody named Rudolph Connors, who is controlling Robot. I guess call it remotely, from like, he's like an actual like weird little tiny test tube being that doesn't have a body, and he's controlling Robot remotely or mentally, telepathically. I can't recall, but he's controlling Robot, and his goal is to get a new body, a new human body, and he chooses a young version of Rexplode because he says that like Monster Girl seems to have a thing for him, or something, like has some sort of physiological response to him, and appropriately he's like kind of like Rexplode's kind of like, what, gross, but yeah, and so all this was so he could inhabit a boy's body, so he could be with the girl, and like you see that throughout I think it was just this episode and last episode, when after what Battle Beast did to everybody, it was very clear that Robot put extra effort into making sure that Monster Girl lived, and I suspected that then. I even put in my notes, like, does he have a thing for her? But yeah, I found that to be a very underwhelming motivation for very interesting actions. Because like from our perspective as fans, right, we're watching this, we see Robot's on the good guys team, right? He built the new Guardians. We're thinking like, okay, this is a good guy. Then he's breaking the Maulers out of prison, and it's like, okay, well, like, is he an undercover agent? Like what is his problem? Like, what is his motivation? And all of it to come to find out that he just wants to be put into a little boy's body so he can flirt with a little girl. Like, what? Is that it? um, and I mean, obviously, like bigger picture, right? He wants to have an actual body. He probably doesn't want to live in a robot. But I mean, but still, I'm this is a little bit of a tongue in cheek assessment, but still, it's like that is still kind of like an underwhelming explanation. So I wasn't angry about it or anything like that, but it was something that I wasn't too happy about. And then I also didn't like. I think um in the scene where we first discover what's going on with Robot, he has uh I think he has like other like versions of himself that he has attacked the Maulers, if I remember correctly, and then he like summons like this big giant fucking like Voltron version of himself, and I'm like, okay, like I even put in my notes, I'm like, this is getting a little bit ridiculous, like so. Yeah, the robot stuff had a very underwhelming culmination for me in this episode. I'm I am curious to see how this is going to play out in the finale, but I just I was hoping for something a little bit more like undercover spy or something interesting, and not just like, yo, I really want to smash. Like, okay, can we do better than that? But so the Maulers, they at the end of, I think, the previous episode, they said that they wanted to have an insurance plan because they didn't trust Robot. Apparently their insurance plan was reviving Immortal, who Nolan killed in the events of episode 1. And Immortal goes after Nolan, and that fight is awesome. Actually, every fight that Nolan is in this episode is awesome. And that's the best part about this episode. Like, there's Cecil sends like those RoboCop looking things from the previous episode after Nolan, because he's got like Sinclair kind of like, I think he was, like tied up and working for him, like, hey, build me some of these. And what I liked about these, and like this show does this kind of a lot, and finds like kind of like new and creative ways to have one being attack another, and like these things are like biting at Nolan, and like I feel like on paper that doesn't sound that impressive, but watching it, it was pretty cool. Like who would think to do that? Like, oh man, like this is gross. Oh, it's kind of sick. But I thought that was really cool. Nolan fighting that plant monster, I thought that was pretty cool. That plant monster was putting in work on him. I'm sorry I don't have the name. I generally try to, like I've said before, I'll pause, during the show to get the names of characters and who the actors are. But I watched this late last night. Like, Amazon puts it up like around 7 p.m. on Thursday. So I watched it late last night. So I'm kind of distant from it, and I didn't do that last night, take notes or whatever. So I don't know what this plant creature's name was, but that was a great scene. And then the fight with Immortal was a great scene. Like, I loved, like he like punches a hole in him, and then you got Immortal with the fingers in the eyes on Nolan, and then tearing him apart like that in front of everybody. Everybody saw this, including Mark, and that's why we have our episode title, "We Need to Talk." That's how the episode ends, with with Nolan telling Mark, "We need to talk." So we know the finale is going to contain a conversation that is going to give us the information that we've been wanting since the end of episode 1. A little disappointed we had to wait this long, but we know that it's coming next week, so we have that going on. I'm also not a big fan still of what's going on with Eve. Like, I feel like for some reason it felt like Eve was a prominent character at the start of the season, and then over the course of the last 2 to 3 episodes, it almost feels like they put her on the back burner. And I really liked the stuff with like her family dynamic. Like, I would have liked to have seen more of that. Like, why is her dad such a piece of shit? Like, I mean, we get an idea of it. Like, it's like almost like a warped version of, I really want to protect you, but man, what an asshole this guy is. But yeah, I feel like this episode lacked some of the things that I come to expect and appreciate. But it did still have several really great action sequences. We did end up getting information on Robot, which I've been waiting on for quite some time. I'm disappointed because I found his motivations to be underwhelming for someone of that intellect. But I mean, at the end of the day, it could just be like, maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe there's something that will come to light in the next episode that might make that a little bit more satisfying. But a lot of weight is going to rely on what ends up why did Nolan do what he did, and then I'd really like to see also this is me being I guess hopeful, a positive resolution to Mark and Amber. In this episode, Mark uh, reveals to Amber that he is invincible, and she's like, "Yeah, I already fucking knew that, and you've been lying the whole time, so you can get the fuck out." That was disappointing. I like Mark and Amber together, but I feel like it's one of those things where it seems like every time I see some sort of superhero property, whether that's a movie or a television show or a comic book, whatever, it feels like it's like the property will tell you how dangerous it is for a superhero to tell a significant other or family who they really are. And I think that's been hammered home so often in these things that we just kind of accept it and we go, yeah, yeah, it's dangerous to do that. But I feel like oftentimes when I'm watching these things, it feels like it's more dangerous, not in a literal sense, but more dangerous to the relationships that they build to withhold this information to such a high detriment. Like you were losing everybody, and then it's like, okay, fine, I guess I'll tell you now. Like, okay, like I feel like he should have told Amber a long time ago, and I feel like we as both viewers or readers and the individuals who create comics and stuff like that, I feel like we need to challenge the whole idea of as soon as you tell somebody, all of a sudden they're in danger. Because and when it really comes down to it, if he tells Amber what changes, as long as Amber doesn't go telling everybody what changes, nothing. It's not like all of a sudden he goes, "Hey Amber, I'm invincible," and then all the villains on Earth just like have some sort of their own like this secret phone tap, like, "Ha, we knew it," and now they know for sure. And like now we can, that's how we get him. And it's like they tell us this so often, but that's so implausible. And I'm like, Mark should have told her a long time ago. And holding it off for a certain period of time was fine. But it got to a point where it was very obvious. Like when he saw her at the party with that other guy, that was time. Like when it's like, okay, so now she's going to parties without you. Like you're dumped at this point, and all because you won't tell her, and you won't tell her why. No good explanation has been provided. We just take that as the usual of it's not safe to tell our close friends or loved ones who our secret identities are. But like I don't see that being a problem. Especially William knows. And you don't see that being a big problem, and it may end up being one later, but at the end of the day, William knows and she doesn't, and she about to leave you. So, and she has left you. So it's about time that you tell her. And he told her too late. So all that to say, I hope that this ends up getting resolved in a positive way. I like them together. I like them together more than I like him with Eve. Him with Eve feels like the obvious choice. Like, oh yeah, that's the match made in heaven. And him and Amber felt like almost like the afterthought that no one expected to happen and did, and then it happened and it worked out. So like I'd like to see that continue as well in the finale. So even though I had some issues with this episode, it was still a very entertaining episode as this show always is. And ultimately, there's nothing that can stop me from feeling that this show is a guaranteed winner. This show is 100% a banger. This is a show that I will be covering week to week for however many seasons it chooses to run, unless of course it does get really bad. But provided that it stays at this quality, this has been an incredibly fun experience that I did not expect. I'm very excited for the finale, and this one episode I was kind of like, I was just okay. But I mean, if the worst thing I can say about this show is that out of 8 episodes, it had one where I said, oh, this is just okay, and like another 7 where I'm like, these were all bangers, like, then hey, I'll take it. So, still solid episode. I did have some issues, but we'll be back for the finale. Can't wait. See you guys next week. Peace.